Hello and welcome to the File News Show. This is the 54th episode of the File News Show. This is your go-to weekly show for all the best artist, creator, and tech news. My name is Ryan Selvey, and today is April 24th. In some late breaking news, we have new information on the TikTok ban. Biden signed the TikTok Divest-or-Ban bill this morning. I know this is like the 1,000th time we've brought this up, and I feel like this news story is always coming up every single week, but this is the closest and realest that we've gotten now to an idea of actually TikTok going anywhere. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this, we're going to be going through all the details about it and much, much more. We also have things about Apple announcing a new iPad event for May. We have Adobe Max London was yesterday, so we've got some exciting Adobe news. Meta opened its headset operating system to third parties. Ali explains how Reddit is being poisoned. We share the best logo design library, or the biggest logo design library. And Creative Block has the best rebrands of 2020 so far. There's plenty more, and we've only got about an hour to do it, so let's get started right away with the news. So yes, it's true. This morning, I actually had something else lined up for what was going to happen with the news story with TikTok and the TikTok bill ban, but it's actually even further than it was last night. And Biden signed the TikTok bill that would result in either the sale of TikTok to a U.S.-based company or an eventual ban in the United States. The Senate advanced a foreign aid package with a TikTok clause slipped in on Tuesday, and Biden signed it this morning on Wednesday. TikTok said it would challenge the unconstitutional law in court. And I mentioned the foreign aid part because this explains why it can grab some senators to care about the bill so much. The TikTok legislation is attached to humanitarian aid, and the package received 80 votes in favor and only 19 opposed. It gives TikTok 9 months to arrange a sale with potential to extend it by 3 months. And according to Axios analyst Dan Ives, said TikTok is worth $100 billion with its algorithm, $40 billion without the algorithm. 9 months from now lands around the inauguration of whichever administration is getting sworn in January 2025. So no matter what, it's going to be a wild ride. It's going to impact creators no matter whether the bill goes through or not. That means that either TikTok gets sold to an American company or it's just outright banned in America. Now, this could be something that is totally beneficial to other companies as far as Facebook or X or other American-owned properties. And it'll be interesting to see how it also affects other platforms outside of American-owned companies that also have skin in the game as far as, social media and everything in between. But before America bans TikTok, find out if TikTok is banning you first. Charlotte Colombo from Passion Fruit reports TikTok is letting users know if they've been shadow banned. If the creator repeatedly posts content that violates for you standards, they can be hidden from recommendations, making the user harder to find. A new account status page will shine light on the strikes that is given to a user. It is still unclear entirely what the vague for you guidelines are, considering sadness is considered a violation of those standards. It's TikTok's world, and we're all just living in it for now, but we'll have to see. Speaking of which, with digital walled gardens and or garden digital walls, algorithms and guidelines are continuously being more scrutinized by individuals and governments. Even Apple is feeling the pressure of the new scrutiny. New EU legislation earlier this year forced Apple to allow alternate app stores on the iPhone. Many new app stores plan to launch with emulators as an offering. An emulator allows a computer system to mimic another system, enabling it to run software designed for the mimic system. In most cases, like this, it's emulating a game console like the Nintendo 64 or the Game Boy. The demand for this is proving to be quite high, so much so that Apple ended up changing its store policy to allow emulators on the App Store. It shows that the landscape of iPhone and digital software is leaving the tight grip of Apple that they've been able to maintain over its ecosystem for the last decade. It's hard to predict whether this will end up being taken down by like Nintendo or other companies, but it's hard to also predict what the butterfly effect of this will cause and what Apple's next move will be. But we do know one thing that Apple is going to do next, and that is hold an iPad event on May 7th at 7 a.m. Pacific. Apple sent out an invite for the event earlier this week for the event Let Loose, and a new redesign is expected for the iPad lineup. First one in 6 years. The visual showcases a Apple Pencil in the logo. The next pencil is rumored to have a new squeeze feature and a Find My Pencil built in, kind of like Find My iPhone. And then it seems like it's going to be a very creator-focused event because it has that pencil in the icon. If you go to their website also, there's a bunch of different Apple logos, all very brush-based and script-based. So I think it's going to be very big for creators and artists to check out. I personally have an iPad Pro that I love to use with my Apple Pencil, and it's so interesting to see how these things continue to get stronger. I have an Apple Pencil 2, which has the magnetic grip on the side rather than having to plug it on the bottom, but we'll have to see. Oliver is saying, wait, what? Apple is listening to their customers? What? Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. But speaking of creator-focused events, there's kind of a really big one that happened yesterday, and it's Adobe Max London. Now, Adobe held its annual London event yesterday. It gave a bunch of sneaks into upcoming features and updates across the product, and including updates to Photoshop's generative features. Let's check out a great video from Adobe Photoshop's YouTube page, which goes through the new features. So I had to change the music because I don't want a content strike, but I found that cool song and I thought it was nice. I thought it fit with it. But if you look through the video, you can see that it has a lot of really cool new generative fill situations coming to Photoshop. It has a really cool one where you can not only fill and create content out of generative art, but then you can also upload a inspiration reference image. So in the case of the video that we just watched, there was a bee that they wanted to add to the image. It made a bee, but then they were like, no, what if it was made of rhinestones? So then they took like a necklace and they put it into the reference image. And then not only did it still have the bee, it then kind of made a creation of the bee out of the rhinestones. This all comes from an upgrade from Firefly Model Image 3, which is a very big, exciting update. Over my shoulder, you can see that there's a new Image 3 model. It has really great details. It makes it so it doesn't look as muddy or like an AI image. And it is really strong, and it's being integrated across all of the platforms, one of which being InDesign, which is exciting. And InDesign announced a new text-to-image feature within the service. It also announced cloud documents that can be accessed online or offline directly from within the app or any device where InDesign is installed. This is something that you can see a lot on Illustrator and Photoshop, where you can use your cloud documents, and it's exciting to also see it in InDesign. It's a nice, seamless ecosystem. And isn't it nice when everything just works together? You don't always see it, but the internet is trying to make it happen. Newsletter publisher and Substack competitor Ghost announced they are joining the Fediverse. Nilay Patel from The Verge reports Ghost is the latest social media service to join ActivityPub. Now, this is a little bit confusing, I understand, but basically the Fediverse is the idea that there is, it's not the Metaverse, but it's a Fediverse, but they can kind of also be a little bit interchangeable. But the Fediverse relies on protocols which are like email, and the fact that you can check your email on a Yahoo email and you can email a Gmail email. And now we have Threads, Flipboard, and Mastodon, which already have support for the Fediverse. And what they're using is called ActivityPub. ActivityPub is the thing that lives on top of the Fediverse, that is the common protocol that works on everything. Wade says Fediverse, F-E-T-A-verse, sounds tasty. Aproverse saying cheese. No, it's actually F-E-D-I-verse. So like federated, but not even with an E. So it's Fediverse. This means you could one day open Threads and see posts from a newsletter you subscribe to on Ghost and a post from Mastodon all on the same feed. One cool thing about Ghost is that earlier this year, there was a big exodus from Substack. And the cool thing about Substack and Ghost is that the fact that they don't rely on closed gardens where you could actually just transfer all of your followers and all of your subscribers without them actually even having to do anything. This is something that hypothetically should be a thing. Like, you should be able to take maybe all your stuff from Twitter and move over to Threads, but right now that doesn't really exist. And Threads is owned by Meta and has made it very public that they're joining the Fediverse, but has yet to comment on Instagram. Instagram, meanwhile, is probably a little too busy focusing on new features in its app. Charlotte Colombo from Passion Fruit reports Instagram announced updates to their subscription offerings earlier this week. Meta announced 2 million active subscriptions exist on the platform, and they announced story teasers, which show non-subscribers when you've posted subscriber-only content. Instagram also added new insights to see how many people are interacting, and also exploring features to prevent screenshotting from subscription content. Now, I'm really curious to hear from you guys. I know there's a lot of different subscription services over the last 3 or 4 years. Many of the services that we use on a day-to-day basis are now allowing users to also add subscriptions, add pay tiers to the things that they're already offering. I personally have not seen much of a draw or incentive to subscribe to anyone on Instagram. That said, 2 million is no joke of a number. 2 million is a huge amount of people that are offering subscriptions. I've seen something here or there about people offering it, but I've never really seen it more than maybe the announcement post. It'll be interesting to see that these story teasers, which kind of show you things that you can't see, and see if that will maybe move the needle in a way that continues to have more people sign up for subscribers. How do you guys feel about the idea of linking your subscribers to Instagram? Like, we've talked about Substack, which there's a paid tier for that. Discord even has a paid tier. Obviously, there's things like Ko-Fi and Patreon, which were one of the first ones, but those are only specifically set for just the actual place where you would go and become a subscriber. Like, they started as subscriber platforms. Patreon is now trying to kind of shift its way to be more than just subscriber only. But I'm very interested to see what this turns into, or if this is something that later they just drop. But Sean says won't pay for Instagram on B nor IG. So interested to see if that is something that is becoming more popular, or if it shifts and lands somewhere else. I don't really have a good segue for this next story, so let's just hop into it. The new Netflix show Ripley is challenging modern conventions in more than one way. This reporting comes from Alex Welch on Inverse, and the new Netflix series by cinematographer Robert Elswit is shot in black and white. Now, you might say, oh, that's only the weird thing. But there's more to it. It develops a strong and loud visual style consisting of elliptical cutting patterns, and the series often relies on dialogue-free, visually significant storytelling devices. What do I mean by that? It's challenging the second screen mentality many shows are shifting their attention towards. We talked a little bit about this a few weeks ago with the idea that more and more producers are being told this needs to be second screen. You need to be able to convey the information to your audience over and over again, because they might not be paying attention to you entirely. That you have to have kind of holding the hand of anyone who is consuming your content as a means to the fact that they're probably going to also be on their phone. Now, with just 8 hours of runtime for Ripley, it's plenty of time to sit with the visuals, and Alex Welch says that you can even watch it with the sound on or off. There are a lot of dialogue-free scenes where it entirely relies on you having to watch your undivided attention to the screen. And it's nice to see something in the medium, try something new, and demand that undivided attention from the viewer. I can definitely relate to this, and it's been a while since I have been completely glued to a TV show. So I'm excited to see this, and I want people to continue to challenge the idea of being like, no, pay attention to me fully. Don't just put me on in the background. But directing viewers' attentions has always been something directors and cinematographers have always had to leverage and challenge, and they've had the benefit of having it within the box of a TV. But what about in virtual reality and augmented reality? Meta is hoping to have more directors asking that question because Meta is growing its headset offering. Meta's virtual reality headset has traditionally been the only headset running the software that they develop. However, on Monday, Zuckerberg announced the Quest operating system is rebranding to Horizon OS, which is Horizon operating system. Horizon is also the virtual world that they create and have running on their headsets. That's a little bit like Roblox, a little bit like Minecraft, a little bit like The Sims. And it's opening to third-party hardware manufacturers, including Xbox, Asus, and Lenovo. And they all have different use cases that Meta wants to tap into multiple different headsets and different industries. Mark Zuckerberg announced it via video, so I went ahead and I preloaded that video. Let's check it on out.
Hey, is this on? All right, some updates on the Metaverse today. We are releasing Meta Horizon OS, our operating system that powers Quest virtual and mixed reality headsets, and we are partnering with some of the best hardware companies out there to design new headsets that are optimized for all the different ways that people use this tech. Now, in every era of computing, there are always open and closed models. And with phones, Apple's closed model basically won out. Phones are tightly controlled, and you're kind of locked into what they'll let you do. But it doesn't have to be that way. In the PC era, the open model won out. You can do a lot more things, install mods, we've got more diversity of hardware, software, and more. So our goal is to make it so that the open model defines the next generation of computing, again, with the metaverse, glasses, and headsets. So that's why we're releasing our operating system so that more companies can build different things on it. We've been building Meta Horizon OS for about a decade. We started building it off Android, and while it's still compatible, we've now built it into a much broader and more capable mixed reality and spatial computing OS. The key ideas behind Meta Horizon OS are a feeling of presence with people no matter where you physically are, bringing digital objects like huge screens into your physical space, navigating and interacting with virtual spaces, and supporting developers and creators and building all these new apps and experiences. You can do all this on Quest today, but now we're also working with Lenovo, Asus ROG, Xbox, and more to build headsets that are going to be designed for specific use cases. So you can imagine a lightweight headset that pairs with your computer on your desk to provide the best work experience, whether you're at home or anywhere else you go. Or you can imagine one that's fully focused on watching immersive entertainment like movies and videos with the highest resolution OLED screens. Or think of one that's fully optimized for gaming with support for all kinds of different peripherals and haptics. You can imagine one that's designed for exercise that's extra light with sweat-wicking materials. Or maybe just a version that comes out of the box with Xbox controllers and a Game Pass so that you can immediately just start playing on a big screen anywhere you go. We're also, as part of this, going to be opening up our store to give you even more options to use whatever experiences you want. So whether they're on Steam, Xbox Cloud Gaming, our own App Lab, or even Google Play, if they're up for it, our philosophy is that we want you to be able to run the content on Quest or any Meta Horizon operating system headset. All right, so opening our OS, that's the next step in bringing all these different use cases of the metaverse to everyone. It's probably going to take a couple of years for some of these new products to start launching, but I'm really excited to get started on this next chapter and to get this into your hands as soon as possible.
So, okay, a few real quick thoughts here. I know we're still in the news section, not the thoughts section. But one, it's weird that he does the little tap tap on the microphone. And then is this thing on? One, because he's a billionaire. He doesn't necessarily need to be using this little tiny microphone. And then also the idea that he could have, cut that out. I don't know. It's weird. It also really shows him kind of being cropped around in the same way that you would see it on a Reels or like a TikTok, which is once again something that is very low budget. And it's interesting that it is coming from, the CEO of Meta, where he could obviously just film this at like a super high production thing. So that is a creator's, artist, social media conversation on its own, in its own little silo. Also, as a complement to that, he starts off really hot with the word metaverse. Like that word is something that they've actually even steered away from, but it seems like maybe they're coming back into it. I personally think that this is a really smart move of Meta to be able to open it up. Will Meta become the Microsoft of headsets? Could you see yourself owning more than one headset? Like he was going through and talking about how like you would have a small lightweight headset for working out, but you would also have a headset over by your couch to watch a movie, or one by your workstation to work. I saw that Wade called out that Zuck is a PC stand, which was a surprise, which I'm not that surprised, honestly. I mean, they're up against Apple all the time. I'd be surprised if he was an Apple stand. But could you see yourself owning more than one headset? Could you see yourself owning one headset at all? You may not only need one headset, but 10 headsets. We'll see. But one thing that you definitely need more of is more than one podcast. And that brings us to our next section, which is In the Making. Teresa Au has an exciting message about Season 2 of Adobe's In the Making podcast. Let's check it out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Au, host of Adobe's podcast, In the Making, and I am beyond excited to announce that Season 2 has officially launched. Our very first episode, Making Magic with Vanessa Rivera, is out now wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out this clip from our very inspirational conversation with Vanessa today. So we talk a lot about taking the leap, especially in creative careers. And I see your story as a series of small leaps towards that big goal to start following your creative dreams and vision. And then when your husband quit his job to join in the family business to work with you. And then, of course, the biggest leap of all, which was when you both sold your house and all of your belongings and moved your family to Europe and started creating content full time while you were traveling abroad. How do you know in your bones, right, when it's time to take that leap?
I don't think there's ever going to be a time when you say, this is the perfect time. I think it's just more about just taking a risk and kind of just rolling with the challenges that are going to come out, because you could wait for what you might think is the perfect time. And there's still going to be things that happen. There's still going to be challenges that you did not anticipate. I know every day is going to just keep going by, and I don't want to wake up one day and have this regret that I didn't try to do something. And I saw a little window of opportunity and I said, we're just going to take it. And whatever happens, happens. We'll figure it out. And we kind of did. And so much went wrong. So many things that we can now laugh about. But at the time we were like, what are we doing? This is not at all like what we thought it was going to be. But when I look back at it and we reflect, we're just like, wow, that was an adventure. And if we could go back and do it again, we would do it.
I really like to see that. It's always nice to hear someone honestly talk about how they don't have all the answers. And there isn't a magic trick. It's all about taking a leap. I listened to the whole episode. Obviously, I cut down that episode to grab that clip. But growing an audience is really hard, and social content is really hard. And it's nice to hear all about her journey in the episode. It's start of the new season for In the Making, which is coming out every week. And so you can catch up on that one before the next one comes out this week. And you want to make my journey less difficult? I would love you for it. Give this episode a thumbs up on YouTube and subscribe to us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It goes a long way. You can always catch up on this rebroadcast wherever you listen to podcasts, or on the YouTube app, iTunes app, you name it. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop on in to thoughts. This week on Thoughts, we have producer Ali Rogers going through and talking about how Reddit is being poisoned and how it's affecting the internet for creators and artists alike and marketers as well. So take it away, Ali.
Hey, Ryan. Okay, today about one of my favorite websites, Reddit, and a terrible thing happening to it. Jason Kobler from 44 Media reports AI is poisoning Reddit to promote products and game Google with parasite SEO. No! Kobler reports there's a new service called Reply Guy that advertises itself as the AI that plugs your product on Reddit. The service promises to naturally integrate your product into conversations via the commenting and posting features of Reddit. Somebody poisoned the water hole! Reddit has been a backbone of Google in recent years, often proving as a reliable source of authentically human responses to queries otherwise taken over by bots writing blogs geared towards SEO. Whenever I want to try a new skincare product, I pretty much go straight to Reddit to see what real people have to say. In case you're living under a rock or stuck scrolling Facebook, according to Wikipedia, Reddit is an American social news aggregation, content rating, and forum social network. Registered users, like moi, submit content to the site, such as links, text posts, images, and videos, which are then voted up or down by other members. All of these posts are housed in small communities called subreddits. You can have a subreddit for almost anything as long as it's legal. You know, things as generic as video editing, or a community for webcomics, or more niche topics like Never Tell Me the Odds, which is when something miraculous happens against all odds, or Not the Onion for absurd news articles that seem too outrageous to be real. Not the Onion is one of my favorite subreddits. And actually, fun fact, I once dropped a bunch of dental x-rays into a dentist subreddit to ask for a second opinion. I really need to take those down, I think. And I don't know why I'm really paranoid of someone finding them. Because of this, Reddit is a hub for self-identifying categories of people. It's an internet surfer's dream, and unfortunately also a marketer's dream, a robot's dream. As AI scrapers came onto the market last year, Reddit got embroiled in some controversy for shutting its doors to APIs and robots so that it could begin marketing itself as a source of yummy, valuable user data to a worthy, hungry robot buyer. Google, who became the go-to indexer for Reddit, found themselves unintentionally in a codependent relationship with Reddit to populate their service. Reddit needed Google to populate its users to the site. So, when Reddit closed their doors, Google struck a $60 million deal with Reddit to be an official partner and have access to all that super authentic, yummy human data and pictures of Allie's teeth. Like x-rays of the teeth, so like not pictures. So let's get back to Reply Guy, who is essentially throwing a giant grenade into this whole ecosystem. Jason Kobler reports that the Reply Guy site shows that you add your product and URL to the site, and then an AI model generates suggested keywords to describe it. You then select how many posts you want the system to create, and then run the system. The system selects subreddits to post to based on all that information. And then it generates a post of your product as gently as possible, quote, gently as possible. So basically trying to be kind of a sneaky ad. Then it gives you all the information of posts and subreddits that have your content. Basically, Reply Guy is trying to leverage the really good relationship that Reddit has with Google. Because of this recent deal, Reddit scores high-ranked spots on Google results. So advertisers, marketers, they want the products that they're promoting to end up on Reddit so that they end up on Google results. This all plays into the dead internet conspiracy theory recently highlighted by Fast Company's Michael Gorthus. He writes, quote, "The dead internet theory says that human-created content that powered the early web in the 1990s and the 2000s has been taken over by artificially created content, which now dominates what people see online. The conspiracy part comes in to say it's being facilitated by corporations and governments in order to exploit the public's perception." that might be a bit far, as it's hard to imagine everyone coming together and successfully pulling one over on the entire internet. People have always been trying to game the internet, but it's really only recently in the last year or so that it's been so easy to produce en masse not only comments, but images, videos, websites, news articles, whole ecosystems of content. Critics are identifying this as AI slime, AI content that's being interacted with by mostly AI. It's a marketer's dream, but it's also a marketer's nightmare. TikTok has even recently begun exploring the idea of AI influencers. Rather than paying a real person, you pay the service to auto-generate content around your product and plug it into the system. Whether it's Reply Guy on Reddit or TikTok's AI influencers, it continues to shape up to be a pretty weird, confusing digital world. A 2022 report from European law enforcement agency Europol pointed out that experts believe that as much as 90% of online content may be synthetically generated by 2026, which brings us to thoughts. Have you noticed any of your feed being AI or even up to 90% AI? Do you think 90% in 2 years is too big of an estimate, or do you think that's on par with what you're seeing? Sound off in the chat, comment below, or send us an email at filenewshow@gmail.com. One thing is for sure, File New will always be human. 100% unedited, non-synthetic human. Grass-fed and treated beautifully in a beautiful cage human. That's all for now. See you next week.
Thank you, Alibot. Appreciate you. I think it's crazy. Like I was saying in the chat while it was going on, that's totally against the FTC rules. Oliver's also saying he's pretty sure it's against ASA rules. Having an ad without saying it's an ad is totally against a lot of legislation that exists. And it's really unfortunate that as creators, we have to kind of combat this. And you also don't know if you're creating things and it's just being interacted by AI bots and AI people for, the sake of making an account look more authentic, because a lot of these, they need to interact with their stuff in order for it not to only be interacting with their own things, so that then when, Reddit is scanning and trying to find the bad accounts, that they don't just identify and be like, oh, this person only likes, mentions of this hair product. Now, I don't know how we're going to necessarily solve for this. I don't know how, as an artist, you kind of navigate this area, but it's proving to become more and more of an issue. Obviously, there's always Adobe content credentials, but that's not really even going to solve for this situation. I don't know. It's a mess, man. The dead end internet is a crazy fringe theory that's starting to feel more real, not necessarily because of as Ali was saying, not because of governments and corporations, but just the idea of what if we're just all talking to robots? I don't know. Let's go on to happier things. I've got some resources for you guys that will help you create some more cool stuff without, hurting your wallet. So the first thing that we have in our resources is the Public Domain Review. And according to their website, the Public Domain Review was founded in 2011 and is an online journal and not-for-profit project dedicated to the exploration of curious and compelling works from the history of art, literature, and ideas. Focuses on works now fallen into the public domain, the vast commons of out-of-copyright material that everyone is free to enjoy, share, and build upon without restriction. You can find it at publicdomainreview.org, on Instagram as publicdomainrev, and Mastodon at publicdomainrev.mastodon.social. You can browse by theme like architecture, humor and satire, maps, or technology. You can explore essays about books, drama, poetry, and science. Or you can look into collections by era, like pre-16th century all the way up to the 20th century, because that's when you kind of run into the area of the 20s where we're at, where things are becoming more and more public domain, but we finally are passing the threshold of Mickey Mouse, because earlier this year, finally the laws kind of overlapped, and now you can use Steamboat Mickey as part of public domain. And as the years go on, we will slowly continue to creep up. I also saw that Tigger from Winnie the Pooh is now also available as public domain. They all have their own silos, of course, as I say that. Like, you can't use recent Tigger, you can only use the old Tigger, because that is a new version of it and it renews it. But this is a treasure trove of all things that you can include in your artwork. You can create products out of it. You can create animations out of it with no harm, no foul. But maybe that's not part of your work. Maybe you're way more into things like graphic design and logos. That's where we're going to talk about logosystem.co. This is self-described as the biggest logo design library. I don't know about that. That's what they describe it as. But you can explore an abundant amount of logos on the website, and each one you can click into, and it has proper credit and links to their corresponding posts on sites like Instagram. A lot of them have case studies when you go and you click into them. They are nice design explorations. Not all of them are quote unquote like real, but you know, they are really great explorations. And if you're working on a design or a brand language or something else, and you need to find a place for really good inspiration outside of your regular stomping ground, you can check it out. There's also a newsletter that includes briefs you can flex your skills with to build out your portfolio. It's created by Dries Roland. He also created creative.tools, which is Kreative .tools, so creative with a K, and it's a catalog of useful design tools for designers, and that also can link to a newsletter. Staying on the topic of designers, we have Design Spells, and Design Spells is described as design details that feel like magic. It explores great animations in web and mobile design, and could also be repurposed as general motion design. You can sort by tags like mobile and desktop or interaction, Easter egg, or dynamic island. It also has a free newsletter and prominently displays a form for submissions. So if it's something that like you've worked on something that you're super proud of and you want to check out, or have other people kind of see what is on, you can just go to designspells.com. I'm going to go ahead and I will actually share my screen so you guys have a opportunity to kind of see what the website looks like, and we can also just kind of look at a few different things. Their whole tagline is designs that feel like magic, and it's, you know, sorcery related, which is cute. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you. Here we go. And you can see that right here we have all the different little areas where you can go. You can select between the different tags, things from Easter egg. Let's look at Easter egg. Let's look at like this one. This is a liking situation, I believe, on Threads when there were cherry blossoms being mentioned, and it was changing the heart into a little flower for a cherry blossom rather than just the regular like. Then, you know, you can also find special heart animations when liking things about the Apple event, and little interactions here and there. There's also just great interactions in general, which I said can also really be just reused also for motion design. Doesn't even necessarily need to be interaction design, but it's just a good place to go. It's constantly being updated. They have their really great newsletter. I suggest you check it out, and hopefully it becomes helpful for you. Let's go ahead and move into our next section, which is Ticketbooth. So Ticketbooth is the time of the show where we go over different shows and events that are happening in the art world, whether it's conferences or art shows. The very first one we have is the Super Fine Art Fair, which is in Times Square, May 2nd to the 5th, which is surprisingly coming up. That's next weekend. And 90% of artworks there are priced between $100 and $3,000. So it's 130 outstanding artists. 60% of them are from New York City, with the rest are from around the world. And they have live art demos, performance art, panel discussions, and a bar/cafe/lounge. Tickets are only $23.18. That's where they start. You can get different VIP tiers, and they're expected to sell out, so make sure you check it out. And the whole focus is a way to give artists a platform, especially when they're starting out, but also to give people the possibility to go and buy artwork for their home or for their collection and not have to, you know, break the bank at like Sotheby's and spend $500,000 on a painting. It has a really great selection of art. Like I said, it has 130 artists, so it's something to definitely check out, and it's next weekend. But maybe you want something a little bit more traditional in that sense. Valentina Deliskia, Lakshmi Riviera, Amin, John Yao, Daniel Larkin, and Natalie Hadid wrote up 5 New York City shows to round out your April. There's a bunch of different ones that are mentioned on this one. On Hyperallergic, there is a show with geometric paintings by Gary Stephen. There's one with painted poetry by Sam Jablon. There's this sneakily suggestive painting collection by Mira Shore. There's carved masks by Bayo Dick. And there's sculptures by Rose B. Simpson. You can go and check out all of these shows and get more information about where they are and how long they're spanning over on Hyperallergic. Just go ahead and let me know if you see any of the shows. And it's a really busy month in New York as far as art shows go. ArtNet Gallery Network posted about Sotheby's Institute of Art's graduate show, and it's a series of shows showcasing the next generation of curators. So, described by the curators as bringing together both painting and sculpture that create an immersive experience that explores the many facets of human identity. While each work invites viewers to individually reflect on their own ideas around self, taken together, the exhibition presents opportunities to consider existence from a macro perspective and how individuals can shape their own narratives. It's part of a 3-show series, so that's the first show. The second show opens tomorrow, April 25th, and is described as where individual agency ends and external forces begin, a boundary that manifests in nearly every aspect of life, investigated through 5 curated sections: spirituality, sociality, psyche, vulnerability, and data. Visitors journey through material diverse works to explore the breadth and scope of the complexities of lived experience. And then finally, the third show opens on May 8th, and it's a culmination of the Sotheby's Institute of Art student group exhibitions. Now, I know that a lot of you are all over the world, and not everyone is in New York, and those last 3 things are about New York. So luckily for you, the writers at ArtNet have you covered. They have 9 must-see shows around the U.S. This spring, and they have shows in Miami, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Houston, Atlanta, Boston, Minneapolis, and of course, they also have New York. I personally wish I could go to the one that they mentioned, which is Tyler Mitchell, Idyllic Space. It's a show in Atlanta, and he was the first Black artist to shoot the cover image for Vogue in the publication's history with his portrait of Beyonce. And the show consists of 30 photographs and the debut of a photo sculptural work brought together. He has shot these ladies over my shoulder in all red and all blue, and they're so saturated against like a minimal background. I really like the primary colors popping up against each other and interweaving with the forms, which is really neat. And like I said, that's over in Atlanta. Now we've got about 10 minutes left or so. We still got plenty for you, so I hope you guys are staying entertained. Let's hop back into some more like resource-esque things, and I want to get into hyperlinks. So I actually used this one this morning, Music for Programming. It is a really cool site that all focuses on music that is really good to focus. It's a site with a growing number of mixtapes of music. There's 70 at the time of this broadcast, and the creator says it is for programming, but it could easily be used for artists of all kinds. It's created by musician Dataset, which is spelled D-A-T-A-S-E-T-T-E. And according to their site, it says, through years of trial and error, skipping around radio streams, playing entire collections on shuffle, or repeating certain tracks over and over, we have found that the most compelling music for sustained concentration tends to contain a mixture of the following. Get ready for this: noise, drones, arpeggios, atmospheres, field recordings, arrhythmic textures, vagueness, microtones, dissonance, detail, finery, patterns, awesome, daunting, foreboding, vast, transcendental, and meditative. I want to know what just awesome is, but it's also paired right next to daunting and foreboding, so I don't know. Music possessing the above qualities can provide just the right amount of cognitive load to engage the parts of your mind that would otherwise be left free to wander and lead to distraction. It's a really cool designed website. It has the kind of idea of maybe like a DOS system with coding, or maybe even like your terminal in like Mac. And from there, you can just kind of see all of the different mixtapes that are available. You can scroll through them. It gives you all the tracks. Look, it looks like this. And you can see these are all the songs. They also have the source that you can play. They also have SoundCloud things. You can go on and find their like iTunes and podcasts. This is where I got the information for the about. When you play, I don't think we can because I don't want to get a content strike, but this kind of moves up and down as a equalizer with different text-based visuals, which is really neat. And yeah, like I said, I've listened to it. I listened to number 70, which was Things Disappear, and it was beautiful. It was extremely interesting while still having me focus on my work, and just a great way to get into the zone. Next up, have you ever wondered what Andy Warhol is up to right now? Well, he died on February 22nd, 1987. But if you go to warhol.org/Andy-Warhol's-life/Figment, you can go to a live stream of his grave. That's it. That's the thing. It's actually pretty high fidelity, and you can just see it in real time of whatever's going. It's sitting in Pittsburgh, and a lot of times it has cans of, Campbell's soup on top because he's known for his Campbell's soup. Apparently, in 1985, he said, "I never understood why when you died, you didn't just vanish and everything could just keep going on the way it was, only you just wouldn't be there. I always thought I'd like my own tombstone to be blank, no epitaph, and no name. Well, actually, I'd like it to just say Figment." So, the Warhol and Earth Cam have a live stream of his grave, and they called the project Figment. And it's 24/7. You can see when people are visiting. You can see just kind of the other graves around it. Yeah, it's. Let me go ahead. I'm gonna pull it up, and we can actually see what it looks like right now. Which, like I said, it's the grave. The color changes every time that I pull it up, as far as what it is. But this is live. You can even. Sometimes it'll pop up and it'll tell you the weather. Yeah, here we go. It's 61 degrees apparently. And you can see there's 3 cans there. It seems like someone left some flowers. You can see the shaking of the grass. And you can feel more connected to Andy Warhol, famous artist, right on site. Something to check out. You guys can live stream my grave when I die. Well, actually, no, I'll be cremated, so I won't have a grave. But that's aside the point. Next hyperlink, retro tech dreams, because it's important to remember the past, like Andy Warhol. A lot of times, through digital experiences and technology, they get lost to time because technology moves forward and we have a lot of digital footprints. Luckily, there's retro tech dreams. It's described as retro tech, early web, and vintage computing, 80s, 90s, 2000s nostalgia. They're on pretty much every Twitter-like service. I found and follow them personally on Blue Sky at retrotechdreams.bluesky/social. But they have a YouTube with old footage, including checking out Photoshop from 1999. And thankfully, that video is version 5.5, because did you know that the first version of Photoshop with layers was 3.0? So there were 2 full versions of Photoshop before layers were even included. You can check that out wherever you absorb text-like content. Very cool stuff, and we'll give you the feels as to how stuff used to look. Including Mastodon. And on Mastodon, there is the server bots.space, which I know that's confusing. The server is bots.space, it's on Mastodon, and there's a new bot by Waldo Jakeith, and he created a bot that pairs the cliche saying, "I hope this email finds you," with snippets from Google Books with the term finds you. Some examples that are automatically pulled are, "I hope this email finds you no matter where you're hiding." "I hope this email finds you within its path of totality, which will cut across the United States from Minnesota to Long Island." And "I hope this email finds you under a balcony and kisses you in the shadows until there is nothing left of you but sparkling fairy dust. And in your weakened state, you ask if she wants to hang out next weekend, and her face clouds and she goes, 'Oh.'" Isn't that romantic? Isn't that wonderful? I'm feeling light and pretty, like I'm walking through an infinite, vast field of flowers. Or wait, no, maybe we're just on infiniteflowers.net, which is a website with, guess what? Infinite flowers. This is a site by Nicholas Baumgarten. And when you go to it, it literally is just a endless loop of these drawn flowers. I don't know how long it goes because every time I go on there, I've never really seen it loop, and I kind of check in and out. It's also available as a screensaver for Mac and a live paper for Android. This isn't his first Zoom project. You can also check out zoomquilt.org and zoomquilt2.com. And that is just a really nice, relaxing, cool. It's cool. I mean, I don't know how he pulled it off. I'm going and going and going and going. But yeah, that is Infinite Flowers. And then the very last thing I have for hyperlinks, I will have it linked in the board link that we have down below. And that is Allie's aunt and uncle have a wonderful webcam of birds that are at their house. And there is a bird that is creating a nest, and the other bird is sitting on top of the egg. And I was watching it this morning. And as long as you're wasting time online, might as well check it out, because why not? It's inspiring. We only got a few minutes left, so we're gonna fly through this. Let's go to Rebrand. Creative Block has the best rebrands of 2020 so far, and this is by Antonia Wilson. They've got 11, but let's just do the top 5. At number 5, they have Burberry, which is an undo button of oversimplification from the 2018 rebrand. They rebranded last year, and it leverages its decorative equestrian knight from circa 1901. It makes more sense for their long-lasting brand and feels a little bit more regal and fancy. Then they have number 4, which is Kia, which is a controversial pick. And in 2021, the rebrand was actually so, I guess, unsuccessful or successful that there was a spike in KN car into Google, and you can see it skyrocket because sometimes read it as a KN. But Antonia argues that Kia isn't exactly known as a luxury car brand or particularly cool or modern, but they are reliable and affordable with plenty of features to match. And I think this brand new rebrand helps them compete with more established luxury brands or rising stars like Tesla. Then number 3, I had not seen this one, but it's the San Francisco Symphony. It is a 2021 rebrand, and it reflects the swelling of the orchestra and its visual scattered lines or letters. And then motion design can also be added to the letters, varying on their weight and their spacing. And together they are complemented with music and sound to then create this really cool animation. Then we have Tiffany Company, which was a rebrand from 2021. It has controversially reapproached the brand's iconic Tiffany blue, and it initially looked like an April Fool's joke, but then the brand leaned into it with a pop-up shop all in yellow. It turned out not to be replacing the blue, but was this other way to revitalize the brand. Later in the year, the campaign, Not Your Mother's Tiffany's, was wildly successful in a way of making a younger generation rebrand and reassociate something that was considered old. And then their number 1 of the best rebrands of the 2020s so far is Channel 4, which was a 2023 rebrand, and this was pentagrammed redesign. It brings all the sub-brands together under one strong, cohesive umbrella, and the gradients, colors, and geometric consistent language is a distinctive, recognizable voice. It helps keep the channel young, as it is one of the most popular channels in the UK, and as you know, teenagers are really hard to stay relevant with, so it's always really interesting. Next up, we have Under Consideration. They did a really great review of U-Group's redesign. Until this post, I hadn't heard of U-Group before. The old logo is not bad, but I was really impressed by the new trademark. The redesign is from For the People, and they write up comes from Armin Witt from Under Consideration, brand new. And the company is apparently about ethical data collection. From their write-up, they say, U-Group is an Australian market research and data company that helps brands understand data and their customers' behaviors. Using data capture technology, they scan and extract information from online and offline receipts from willing participants, many of which come through Receipt Jar, rewarding users and helping brands understanding the next generation of shoppers. And the new logo feels so real and ethical, and the idea was to think about people before data. And the new logo features lots of a soft serif font with a typewriter effect that bleeds into each other. They leveraged a holographic security pattern texture on top of their work called Ghoulish patterns, and it feels tactical and grounded. A strong reference to the receipts that we were talking about and printed authentication they're securing in. And you don't think of a data company as human, but I think this is really successful. And then we got about like 2 minutes left. So let's quickly hop into Spotlight. And then Spotlight, we have Miniwood by Yeti Pictures. Yeti is a team of award-winning motion design professionals in the quest of the unordinary. An amazing short called Miniwood. And they said, quote, "When we were kids, we used to play with action and toy figures. And as we grew up, Hollywood's movies blew our imagination. Today, we present you with our animation homage to these great memories through Yeti Pictures mini world style and with a big dose of humor and plot twist. Enter our Miniwood world." I'm not going to show you the whole thing because I want you guys to give them the view. But let's check out like 30 seconds.
Look at this guy.
Not that one. I have to go. I actually didn't have it loaded in. I had the wrong thing popped up. So we're going to quickly grab this, and then we will check out this Spotlight real quick. You can see it's little Miniwood. Then we have something that looks like it's from, what is that, The Exorcist? We have King Kong with really cute miniatures, and he has a little SWAT. And then we also have this Jurassic Park, which he turns into like a little dog. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much for following and watching and commenting along. We'll be back next week, but an hour later, Wednesday, May 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Bear with us as we find our new schedule. As always, you can watch the replay as a podcast or on the Adobe Live Community YouTube channel. I recently bought filenewshow.com. That should redirect you straight to the playlist. And please hit us up with all your comments. Comment on YouTube or email us at filenewshow@gmail.com. Thoughts, praises, ideas, suggestions, or features, you name it. Follow me on Instagram at Ryan Selvey and on Blue Sky at ryanselvey.com. And if you're here live, like many of you are, stay tuned for more Adobe Live. Up next, the Spotlight with Lisa Carney, hosted by Renee D. Sherry. Thank you guys so much. See you soon.